Legislators are back in Olympia, and Washington lawmakers are getting prepared to push their legislation through before the end of the session in April. King 5's Drew Mickelson, the only Capitol-based TV reporter in the state, joins us now from Olympia. So, Drew, the first week of the legislative session was full of history.
Yeah, hi, Christine. Welcome back to Olympia, everybody, for another year of in session. The first days of the legislature are always ceremonious, a lot of pomp and circumstance, but this year, we really had a changing of the guard, and for a lot of folks, especially Republicans, they're hoping it's the start of a brand new era in Olympia. Governor Jay Inslee wrapped up his final days in office by revealing the portrait that will hang in the Capitol, honoring his record-tying 12 years in office. My colleague Sebastian Robertson filed this report on Inslee's last day in office.
To Washington, I bid you fair winds and following seas.
Governor Jay Inslee touting his accomplishments while calling on the new generation of politicians to stay the course.
Washington voters just sent a strong message that they want to continue the path we're building.
Inslee started his political career as a legislator out of the Yakima Valley some 35 years ago. He's the state's second three-term governor. In today's speech, Inslee spoke about his political victories, pointing to the capital gains tax and assault weapons ban and the abolishment of the death penalty.
Let's be clear. By this act, we are ending the death penalty in the state of Washington, period.
Though many argue he will be best remembered for his leadership over the course of the pandemic.
Even though post-COVID, we do know that there were consequences for the choices that he made, like students falling behind relative to schools that stayed open. But the death rate stayed a lot lower.
He fired healthcare workers.
State GOP Chairman Jim Walsh sees things differently, pointing to the thousands of state workers fired over the vaccine mandate that's since been repealed.
When the good people of Washington questioned his mandates and edicts during the COVID outbreaks, he punished them with all the power of the state.
Through his speech, Inslee also touted the paid family medical leave assistance program passed in 2019 and environmental stewardship, including the state's Climate Commitment Act, which set the ambitious goal of cutting 95% of greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2050.
The secret of our success is we don't leave anybody behind. We follow the science and we work together to make extremely difficult decisions.
So, Drew, on Wednesday, the state got a new governor, Bob Ferguson, and you reported he had a much different message for Washingtonians.
Yeah, quite the change from Tuesday to Wednesday. Republicans said it was refreshing. We'll get to that in a bit. But yes, Wednesday was Inauguration Day. And Bob Ferguson, of course, is no stranger to Olympia. He's been the state's attorney general since 2013, but now he's governor. After his swearing in, he introduced his wife and twin teenage children to the state legislators. But then he got right down to business, making it clear cuts instead of new taxes will be his priority.
We face real challenges as a state and as a people. Our state is unaffordable for many Washingtonians. We rank 50th last per capita in number of law enforcement officers. Our ferry system, it's broken. We are confronted with a behavioral health crisis. Too many of our residents are unsheltered. Housing is too expensive, and there's not enough of it. These times also call for action to improve the way state government serves the people. Few things frustrate me more than bureaucracy that creates delays, confusion, or extra hurdles when people and businesses need questions answered and results delivered. Our state employees work hard, and we are thankful for their public service. We must do a better job listening to them and to the public to find ways to improve customer service and save money while we are doing it. I'm in politics because I believe in the power of government to improve people's lives. At the same time, we must recognize government does not always meet that promise. So let me be clear. I'm not here to defend government. I'm here to reform it.
So what was the reaction to the incoming governor's remarks? Did it happen to surprise anyone?
I think it did. It's safe to say that it did. The Democratic leadership here and the outgoing Governor Jay Inslee, they've been talking about raising new taxes and the need for new taxes long before the session started. And Governor Bob Ferguson essentially is saying, hey, let's pump the brakes on that, and that had Republicans downright giddy. We talked to them just moments after the big speech. The House Minority Leader thinks he gave Governor Ferguson 8 to 10 standing ovations Wednesday. Representative Drew Stokesbury says he maybe gave Governor Inslee a couple of standing O's over his 12 years.
Governor Inslee didn't paint that kind of picture when he gave his State of the State on Tuesday. He talked a lot about puppies and rainbows. But Governor Ferguson was honest, and I appreciate that. He opened his speech by talking about all the ways Washington is failing, and many of the areas he identified were the same ones Republicans have been talking about for years.
Where we can find places to agree to work with Governor Ferguson, we're certainly going to. The flip side of that is we're going to hold him accountable to his promises to the people of the state of Washington. I expect him to deliver based on what I've seen so far. The last thing I'd say is, I really liked one of his comments during the speech. He said, "I'm not here to defend government, I'm here to reform it." Well, let me tell you, Governor Ferguson, here's your team. We're ready to work with you on that effort.
Drew, the budget and talk about taxes and cuts will dominate this 105-day legislative session, especially late in the spring. What are some of the other big issues being debated here in the opening days?
Yeah, once we get to about St. Patrick's Day, that's when lawmakers will know just what kind of budget they're going to be looking at. Right now, they think it's going to be about a $12 billion deficit over the next 4 years. But here in the early stages, the early days, it's all about the policy bills. Day one, there was House testimony on a controversial bill that would limit how much landlords can raise the rent. The rent stabilization bill caps rent hikes to 7% a year. Critics say that will scare apartment developers away to other states where they don't have those kinds of restrictions. Also, a bill to lower the threshold for when a driver is considered under the influence passed out of committee in that first week. The move to lower the blood alcohol content limit from 0.08 to 0.05 has come up here in the past, but it's stalled. Food and beverage lobbyists fear it would hurt business, and they're skeptical it would actually reduce drunk driving. But the bill's prime sponsor, former State Trooper Senator John Lovick, says the move would save lives.
Madam Chair, our roads are not as safe as they were, and they are not as safe as they should be. I see driving behavior beyond anything I could have imagined when I started as a state trooper.
So, Drew, before we go, we always like to hear about the, quote, fun bills in the legislature. Are there any on the horizon?
There are. In the first week, there was some testimony on naming an official day, Kimchi Day, in the state of Washington. That has a lot of people excited. And this is one that's going to surprise folks. There's a bill to make the official nickname of the state of Washington the Evergreen State. We all, I think, already thought that was officially on the books, but it's not. There are some legislators who say this is the year for that one. Back to
Okay,
you.
Drew, we'll look forward to that. And by the way, the session is only getting started. For in-depth coverage throughout the legislative session, you can head over to our free streaming app, King 5 Plus. Right now on the app, you can also find Governor Ferguson's inauguration and extended versions of Drew's in-session reports available for streaming.